Greetings, everyone. You guys know the drill by now. Today's topic of discussion is how to tell if your program actually works. Don't forget, follow up, follow up. Now, one of the most common mistakes I see in the gym is people following a program for months, sometimes even years, without actually knowing if it's doing a damn thing for them. Now, we know nutrition, sleep, effort, and consistency all 100% matter. However, if your program is lacking, although you're still going to be in the right direction of that fitness goal you have, you're definitely going to be missing that oomph, that extra little bit to tie it all together and it for that progress to be showing in your physique. So today we're going to break down exactly how to tell if your program is working and some general points to remember when planning a program. Point one, measurable progress in strength. If your lifts aren't improving over time, even slightly, that's a red flag. Now, I'm not saying you should be adding 10 kilos to your bench every single month. That's newbie territory. But if after 6 months you're lifting the same weights for the same reps, something is clearly not given and something has to give. Strength progression doesn't always mean adding plates either. It could mean more reps with the same weight or better form and less of a struggle with that same weight over time. Progression in any form is still progress. But if your numbers are flatlining over a long period, so is your program. Number two, sets and volume and frequency. Now this part I'm going to need your undivided attention, so you lock into what I'm saying and don't misconstrue it. A lot of people either overshoot or undershoot in regards to sets and volume and frequency. Firstly, I'm going to define each and every one of them. Then I'll give you my recommendations for them. Got it? The definition of a set is a group of consecutive repetitions, also known as reps, performed without rest. So if you're to do 10 reps of a bench press, that's one set. If you waited a minute or two, then did 10 reps again, that's another set. So it means you would have done 2 sets of bench press. The type of sets I'll be speaking about specifically is called working sets. A lot of people, and even me in my early days, would include my warm-up sets as actual sets. Your working set are sets where you're actually going to 0 to 2 reps from reserve. So the actual heavy sets. So for example, if you're doing a bench press and you program it to be 6 reps, and your top weight is 100 kilos for 6 reps, just about. The sets where you did anything below 85 kg, some may even say 90 kg and below, should be viewed as warm-up sets and does not account for a working set. Got it? Cool. So now we know the definition, we're going to get into the actual recommendations. I would advise everybody watching this should do anywhere from 4 to 10 sets per week per muscle group. I'm going to show you a picture of said muscle group so you can screenshot it, and then I'll give you an example of what that means. So let's use the tricep for example. Let's say I do a 4-day training program and I have 2 tricep exercises I do, the JM press and the tricep pushdowns. On day 1, I do the JM press and I do 2 sets. And on day 3 of the program, I do the tricep pushdown for 2 sets. That means they have done 4 sets per week for the triceps. I hope you've all gotten that, and if you haven't, feel free to wind that part and watch it again. You should play about with your weekly sets, as not all exercises you're going to be able to give 8, 9, 10 working sets. Prioritize your weaker or less impressive muscle groups by giving it slightly higher weekly sets, and find the sweet spot for whatever works for you. Next up, volume, which is the number of working sets you do within a session or within a week. Volume is very important to understand, as more volume necessarily doesn't always mean more muscle growth. You're going to get to a level of what's called maximum recoverable volume, which is the max amount of sets you can do per muscle group per week. And when you go over that MRV, you're doing too much sets per week to the point where you actually begin plateauing, or worse, getting weaker, as you begin incurring more muscle damage than muscle growth. So now for the recommendations. You who are watching this is probably thinking, so then how do I find out how much volume I should do? When I discussed weekly sets per muscle group, I said train within 4 to 10 sets per week. So I want you to start on the lower spectrum of that weekly set per muscle group for 3 to 4 working sets at first and slowly increase it, maybe after 6 weeks or so. Now, if you feel you can do more without feeling too fatigued on a session to session basis, then up that weekly sets until you find that sweet spot. It's going to be different for each individual, but you're going to know it's enough when you're making good progress comfortably and consistently without needing a deload week or something like that. Okay. Lastly, frequency, which is the amount of times you train a muscle per week. As for recommendations, you want to train each muscle group 2 to 4 times a week ideally. For example, in a 5 day program, if I do bench press on day 1 and 2 and pec fly on session 4 or day 4, it means I'm working my chest 3 times a week. Okay, that's 3 times a week frequency. And frequency should be determined by how much weekly volume you actually do. There's a big debate in the science-based lifting world on 2 or 3 times frequency a week. Now, in my humble opinion, you don't need to stick to one specifically. In my programming, some muscle groups I give 3 times frequency, some I give 2. It really just depends on you and the split you do. Number 3, training splits. Now you understand a bit more about frequency, volume, and sets. That leads you to the question of what type of training split should I do? And there's many, like the bro split, upper lower, full body split, PPL, that's push pull legs. Then you have hybrids like push pull upper lower and many others. I'm not going to dive into all the splits specifically, but if you were to program each one as best as possible, understanding volume, frequency, and sets, the 2 best you'd want to do is upper lower or a full body. Okay? Now, which one should you run from? Bro split, get that out of here. Like, get out of here. Do you know what I mean? There's never a reason you need to dedicate a session for biceps or your chest. Insane volume and not enough frequency, in my opinion. Push pull legs, now, that has a special place in my heart because that got me a lot of gains very early doors before I understood how to program a session like I do now. But can't lie, we got to get that out of here too, man. Let's get that going. It's very hard to recover, not very sustainable, as you literally have to train 6 out of 7 days a week. Some forms of hybrid can be okay, but you're going to need to really program it to hit every muscle group precisely. Your split should be dependent on enjoyability of the split and how many days a week you yourself want to work out. Number 4, exercise selection that makes sense. Now, if your program has you doing circus tricks or resistance bands, 12 variation of curls, or copying what the biggest guy in the gym is doing without context, forget about it. A solid program is built on proven foundations: presses, pulls, squats, hinges, carries. Those are the stuff that's been around for decades because it works. Don't get distracted by fluff. Your program should be built around moves that give you the biggest return on your investment, not the fanciest angles on Instagram. Ensure your exercises hit all necessary muscle groups. If you want, I can make a separate video of 3 to 4 exercises I vouch per muscle group that you could do if you're unsure about exercise selection. Now, although you want to program exercises that are optimal, you want to remember the enjoyment factor. A pec fly is actually better than a bench press for chest gains. However, if you despise the pec fly, but you love the bench press, pick the bench press over the pec fly, as you're going to enjoy it more. And you're going to likely make more progress in the one that you love over the one that you hate. Now, I'm not advocating and saying that you should throw out all the ones you dislike and put in all the ones you like, assuming the ones you like are crap exercises. But you need to know how to strike that balance well. Okay? Number 5, consistency. This one should be obvious, but you're going to be shocked the amount of people who test a program for 3 weeks, don't see miracle results, then hop onto the next flashy routine they found on TikTok. The truth is, even the most well-designed programs is not going to show like the full effects until you run it consistently for months at a time. Your body needs repeated exposure to the same movements, the same loading patterns, and progressive adjustment to adapt and grow. If you're constantly chopping and changing, you're going to be resetting your progress every time. So before you blame the program, ask yourself, have you actually stuck with it long enough to know if it works? So to wrap this up, if you want to know whether your program is actually working, look at the 5 pillars we just covered. Are you seeing measurable progress in strength over time? Are your sets, volume, and frequency balanced and tailored to your recovery and goals? Is your exercise selection within your training split smart, built on proven high return movements instead of nonsense? And lastly, are you giving your program enough time and consistency to actually do its job? Nail those 5, and you're going to know for sure if your training is pushing you forward or just keeping you busy. At the end of the day, the best program isn't the trendiest, okay? It's the one that keeps you progressing steadily, sustainably, and long term. Because here's the rawness. Following a bad program for years is actually worse than following no program at all. At least with no program, you understand that you're lost. With a bad one, you think that you think you're doing something. Like you actually think you're going somewhere, but you're not. So how do you know if your program works? Simple. Results do not lie. And if you're still unsure where to start, or you want a professional eye to make sure your program is designed for results and not just sweat, hit the link tree in my bio and join my online coaching. At Fast. I know you're ready for change. Now, guys, thank you for sticking around for this super long video. Follow me up here. Here, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing, really. YouTube, Insta, TikTok. You guys know what to do. Thank you.